Alright, welcome back to the shop. I've taken some time, a long time, but it's been a couple of weeks since I've touched the guitar. You guys don't know this because you're still seeing, I think, binding go on and stuff at this point. So, a little divot there, so I'm going to have to sand a little more. But anyways, the neck is on. The only last real bit of wood that needs to be cut is the bridge. So I got this blank of rosewood, and the way I was taught on my first guitar is I took an existing Martin bridge and I basically literally copied the thing. I don't want to do that this time. I want to get into the process of actually making my own bridge from zero, from scratch. So understanding why lines are where they are, why features are where they are. And I think first thing I need to do, so first of all I'm going to preface this whole thing with, I've never done this, I don't know what I'm doing. If I'm wrong, please tell me. I may be too late by the time I get to that point, but if it's so bad, I'll end up knowing that I'll have to replace the bridge. But I'm willing to take the chance because it's an education. So basically what it comes down to is the bridge shape really only matters where the saddle goes and enough to get the pins in so that the angles aren't terrible and everything goes together all right. So the real thing is just making sure it's positioned this way correctly, first and foremost. So that's the first thing I want to do, is figure out where the bridge needs to go. Something else I think I might do, I just realized I might do, I'm not quite sure yet. So the saddle I've got here, which may or may not be committing a cardinal sin, but it's also a bit of corian, which is what I'm using for my nut. I used corian for the nut on the 335 and it sounded fine, but that's not an acoustic guitar, so corian saddle might be terrible. We'll find out. I'm going to give it a go because it's what I have, and it'll be a standard-ish dimension, 1/8 of an inch thick, and I'll cut a length, whatever. So I'm not terribly worried about having to make a new one if I'm wrong. I'm fine to make a new one if I'm wrong. In fact, that'll be another lesson I get to learn. So, got a bit of a saddle thing. The bridge sits on the body square, first and foremost. We put the bridge on the body. I'm going to go this direction because the grain runs straightest here. And then the saddle goes on canted so that it's closer on the treble side than it is on the bass side. And that is what's called compensation, I think. I think that's the term for it. It's a compensated saddle. There's also some bevels on top of the saddle that the string rides on that gets the intonation in there correctly. But what I want to do is figure out where the bridge goes first. I figured that out through the scale length, but it's based on the diagonal of the saddle as well, or to some degree it's based on the saddle as well. So what I'm going to do is, this guitar's scale length is 633 millimeters, and I've got a nice long metric. I've got the nut, it's seated very firmly, it's not going anywhere. It was actually a press-in fit. And I'm going to do the scale length. It turns out, from what I've read, and I could be completely wrong on this, I'm willing to be wrong and educated, is that the scale length, you kind of go from the treble string. It's the nearest to the scale length possible, basically. I don't know if that means anything, but what I found out is I went to a strings and instruments saddle calculator, and it said for an acoustic steel string guitar, it asked my scale length and a couple other little bits, and so this calculator told me how much more past the scale length for the saddle at the treble string, as well as the saddle at the bass string. So that's going to help get my angle and also let me position the bridge in a decent location. So what I've done first and foremost is I've accentuated the line, the center line of the body. I've added a center line to the bridge blank that I've got. This bridge blank is way oversized, but I want to get positioned first so that I know how much of a top, the crown, like typically the center bit is thickest and it thins out over here. So I just want to know how wide I have to have for that to be functional. So in order to do that, I need to get the bridge placed, and I need to figure out where the saddle is going to be, and then I can figure out how much space I need to leave for all of the bridge and saddle components. So then, upon that, with a 633 millimeter scale length on the treble side, it wants another 3.5 millimeter past it to account for the string bend and the suspended and all of that. So it's what's called the compensation. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get roughly in the 630, I think if I go 630 at the edge of the bridge, the leading edge of the bridge, excuse me, 630, and then we go back 3 millimeters, which is the actual scale length, and then another 3.5 millimeters, it said, for the treble side. So we're in about there. That actually seems okay, because that's where you want the center of the saddle. That's the peak point on the saddle that you want. Yeah, so that's where I'm trying to get a sense of just how far back from the nut I should go. I think I'm going to go 631, because that extra millimeter. So we're looking at 636.5 millimeters. 636.5 millimeters is where the saddle should be. I'm going to go 1 more millimeter away. And that'll give, what I want is, I don't want to put a bunch of space up in front of the bridge. I just want the saddle to sit, you know, so there's like 1/8 of an inch or so of space. I'm going to be bouncing between units of measure because that's how my brain works. So I apologize to anybody who thinks exclusively in millimeters or exclusively in inches. I think in a little bit of both, especially with this guitar, because the plans are in metric, but I have a lot of imperial brain. So that's about 632 right there. So the next thing I want to do, very carefully, first of all, I need to line up my center line, so I'm going to slide towards myself a little bit, and then I'm going to get it square. Oof, that is way off of square. Yeah, it's a long ways away from square. Try to do this pivoting about the center point, but it's going to be a little bit of a sneak up trial and error piece here. That is about where I'd want it. Now can I get you to commit to, not quite there. There we go. I think that's it. Okay, so there's about my center point. It's not held by anything, although it might be wise if it were. And then we'll just check one more time here, trying to hang on to things so that nothing spins on me while it's being maneuvered around. Okay, perfect. That stayed where I was hoping it would stay. Alright, so that tells me there where I want to be. What I'm going to do real fast is confirm that it is square. Not yet. There we go. There, right there. Let's confirm that measurement one more time, because I think I've shifted it. What I'm doing is I'm lining the edge of this straight edge, this measuring device, this rule. Oh good, that's perfect. Against the edge of the fretboard, because that's guaranteed to be wider than where the first string will be. So that gives me a little bit of play. Alright, now that I have this set where it's got to be, I am actually going to mark on the body where this line is. Ooh, let's double check that we did not just shift. I felt like I just shifted. There. I like that. Let's confirm that measurement once more. We do this over and over, as many times as it takes. It might be easier if I had this clamped somehow, but yeah, that's fine. Okay. Might be easier if I have this clamped, but this line now is where the bridge goes. Okay. That line is now my bridge line. It's the front edge of my bridge. It's about 3.5 millimeters ahead of, or it's actually more than that. It's more like 6.5 millimeters ahead of the saddle, the center point, the final part, resting point of the string that's going to be on there. But that lets me throw on a little bit of sticky back tape so that I can keep this in place while I work out the rest of my measurements. So I'm going to go grab a little bit of double stick tape and stick that down, and then we'll bring you back. 1 second. Okay, so I grabbed a little bit of masking tape that I put down on the body first because this carpet tape is very grabby, and I've just got two small pieces of double stick tape here on the bridge piece that I'll stick so it'll adhere to the masking tape so it doesn't peel fibers off the spruce in any demanding way, in any damaging way. That way we protect the top of the spruce. The masking tape won't do any kind of damage really. Okay, so I'm going to find my center, align it with my main line, so I'm basically just putting it back where it was, and then I can lay it down onto the masking tape carefully. Okay. Now we're back where we were and a little more stable so I can do some more measuring and marking and whatnot on this surface. Okay, cool. That was what I wanted to do there. So now what I want to do is typically you scallop out an end of the ends of the bridge to make a kind of a cool shape. But this area gets a little bit of a tiny radius and it goes for a certain length. And so I'm just trying to recreate how will I decide how much of that width needs to be there based on what strings are going to do, how the strings are going to get placed, without going to some other pre-invented thing. I'm literally reinventing the wheel here on purpose for my own education. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to align, just like I did a bit ago, I'm going to align my straight edge with the very edge of my fretboard and consider that the bare minimum width because the strings will be in place within that line. I'm going to do the exact same thing on the bass side. Just line it up, and I'm doing this by finger pressure because this line, this boundary is not, it's not tone critical, precision critical, it's just symmetry. And so it can be a little bit, not really by eye, but just a little bit less, it's less finicky. Okay, so those two lines, they're an angle, those two lines represent the absolute narrowest this landing can be. This thing is over 6 inches wide. It's longer than I want, or over 6 inches long. It's longer than I want, so I can cut some of that off. I've got all sorts of options now. I can do all kinds of things. One thing I will do is while I'm sitting here, I can bring the center line up, and then I can extend it. See if I can do this without tipping stuff over here. Is I can take the center line and extend it, and this will actually help me figure out just where on this my saddle's going to land. So I come back here, and remember we were 636 and a half or so for the saddle. So let me get that aligned, and we're going to be right around there for the saddle, for that side. And then on the other side, which I have to kind of do a little bit strangely because I don't actually have I don't have metric on that side of the ruler. So that I'll just go like this. That one gets what did I say it was? It was almost 7, so it's a little over 7 over the scaling. So 633 plus, so we're going to be at 640 and a little under 640 for that one. Okay. Then we can take a line across here. This gives me my saddle angle for as long as I wish to have it. And my saddle location. So there's my saddle angle. Like that. Okay? So this thing can get cut to fit right there. That is my leading point on the saddle. Just like that. That's my saddle position. So that tells me all I need for saddle pointing. I think, I'm not sure I'm going to get string positions just yet. Actually, I do kind of. I can come in about 1/8 of an inch or so from either side. Come in about 1/8 on this side and a little bit less than 1/8 on this side. Because the top string is fatter. It's less. I have to look at that up. I have to look that up. I actually think it's fine if they're the same distance. So we'll come 1/8 of an inch on either side at the nut. But we would also be 1/8 of an inch all the way along. Yeah, because it's a straight line. So we can come 1/8 of an inch in from this line and make another mark, and that's where those 2 strings will be, and then we spread out evenly between them the other 4 strings. I think that's fine. Yeah, we can do this. So what I'll do is I'll take this and I will attempt my very best to match this angle, and then with as much finesse and care as possible come out 1/8 of an inch. Let's take this. 1/8 is a lot. I really want to go 1/8. 1/8 is a ton of space. I think I'm going to go look that up because I'm not entirely sure 1/8 is necessary to come that far out. It seems like a lot to come in from the edge, but maybe not at the nut. I better check that. It might be 1/8. For the fat string, that actually may not be enough. We'll see. Yeah, so the next bit is I want to make a mark where each string will go so that I can look at working out the pin locations. So yeah, I need to work that out. This is just helping me get on what I'm doing. I don't know if I made it very clear originally, but what I'm doing is marking the critical dimensions for the string locations and the pins and the saddle and all that stuff, so that then I know what's critical, and then I can work around making what design changes or whatever aesthetic stuff I want. I'm trying to get all the technical locations, trying to predict all of that stuff, or trying to assess where all that stuff is actually going to go in reality. So let me double check real quick. I'm not entirely certain about how far in on the fretboard each string needs to go. It might be 1/8 of an inch at the nut, which would be 1/8 of an inch down here, because I think it's a parallel sort of spread. Yeah, let me double check that and then I'll get back to you. Alright, according to the StuMac people, I thought 1/8 looked big, and I was right. It's more like a 1/16. So that's what I will do. I will head for about a 1/16 here. And I'm going to come out as far here and as far here, because my fret ends are pretty sharp. So there's that one. There's that one. This is going to take a couple because it's moving both bits here. Right about there. Let's go with the end of the edge of the fretboard here, like that. That's good. I can deal with that. We're going to call that string 1. Do the same on this side. Get 1/16 over here. That. I'll have to watch out for the pencil width as well, I just realized. So, right, is our other string. That covers that, and I'm going to go just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit more than that, because the width of my pencil is a little bit too much. And this should just take care of any other troubles. Okay, I'm going to go get the string spacing rule, and I will get that distance next. According to the video I just watched on StuMech, he said about a 1/16 of an inch in. This says about an 1/8 of an inch in. It's very by guess and by gosh, if I am to quote Mr. Pete. So I've gone a little between that, so it's like 3/32 for me. So then the next thing they tell you is you just find a set that meets up with your lines where a pair, so a short and a short, meet together at that same distance apart. So let's see, do I have a long one there? No. I do not have a long one. Let's see if we go this way. Long, oh, we're very close. A little more. We're getting further apart here. No, they are getting closer together. So come down here. That one went too far. Okay, we're getting there. That one's very close. See if it doubles there. There we go. Alright. So now I'm using shorts. So, crud. This pencil is too dull to get down in there. So what I shall do is what? Leave that there. I'm going to go find I think a mechanical pencil will fit down in there. Let's go get one. One sec. Alright, well, I just sharpened my lead here enough, I think. So now we should be able to come in here and do, yep, we can. That'll do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, that's not working. That's too close together. That is wrong. Way too close together. That is way wrong. Rizza, wrong. Try this again. Another go. None of that worked. Okay. We got to come way over here to get 6 together. So this one and not that one. How about that one and no. No. Getting there. Getting there. Getting there. That one. Oh, not quite. That one and that one. Nope, not quite that one yet. How about these? No. Boy, we're getting close to the end of this. There we go. Yeah, that'll do. Okay, so we're on long ones. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's right. Okay. And this, honestly, is not crucial right now. It's just helping me see where... Boy, that looks really far apart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is all 6. Yeah, that's just really far apart. But I did do it that way, bass and treble, okay? That's fine. This is helping me to see where to get my pin holes. So I'll come perpendicular off my saddle line for each of these. I think it might be easier if I go like this. So that one off my saddle line would be about, well, how far back should I go? An inch from the saddle? Less than an inch? I'm going to go look at, I guess it doesn't. Looks like it's about maybe 3/4 of an inch. So what I think I will do, I know what I'll do. I'll take this little guy, which is about 3/4 of an inch wide, about 20 millimeters, a little bit less, 19 millimeters. I will mark this way, parallel to the saddle, and I can, boop, take it easy though, hang on to you. Boop, go like that, and this will be about where my bridge pins will be. I guess I could put tape on this and use regular pencils too, but so that gets me about where the bridge pin holes will go by, because the end of my ruler is square, I can just go to that. Yeah, that'll work. I can just go to the line like that. I'm going to get rid of some stuff here real quick because there's enough in my way to be confusing. I'm going to do the same down here. Okay, I'm going to do that line one more shot here just to complete it again. Oop, wrong pencil. Wrongy pencil. Okay. Like so. Then I can come in, because I have the lines marked where the strings will go here. This is probably really confusing. This will tick off where that one is. This will tick where that one is. And I'm basically putting my pinholes in the same place as the strings, just at the angle, at the same angle as the saddle, is my intent. So that it follows the saddle. That way I'm not drilling into the same splitting of grain lines. And so that should minimize the chances of the bridge splitting out. Let's go this way now, because I'm flipped. Like so. And then this one. Like so. Okay, so that lays out my bridge pins and locations. That gives me all of the geometry that gives me everything I need to know that's required, that I need to make room for, that I need to have space for. My saddle, I'm going to go wider, excuse me, I'm going to go wider than that string location, obviously, so let's go say, oh, where did I put that pencil? I just set it down. Let's go about a 1/4 inch past, yeah, I figure a 1/4 is plenty, right? Past the string location. So we'll say our saddle is going to stop here. And we'll come down here to this one, and we'll say our saddle is going to stop about there. Okay, so that's going to be the width of our saddle. Nicely, okay. And that tells me basically how wide I need to make stuff. So the saddle will be there, and then I can come, might as well measure, might as well do this fairly not necessarily precise, but at least symmetrical. I'll go another 1/4 from the end of the saddle. Now I'm in design land. I'm deciding what it's going to look like. So I'll go another 1/4 from that line, which is the end of the saddle. And then we'll call that the break line, where I'm going to do Martin style, where it breaks and heads to a curve, sort of a scoopy. Oop, no, that was the wrong line. None of that is needed. Did the wrong line. We'll do this line. There, that'll be the break line of the bridge. Now I can go down a ways, however I wish. Yeah. And let's say we go another, I don't know how far to go. An inch maybe? Where's an inch land here? Maybe an 1.25 inches? I've got 1.5 inches, so we'll play around with that. Alright, I'm pull you in a little more, so here's just a quick little recap, mostly because I got interrupted yesterday. So right here we have our saddle line that we've decided on. This will be the front of the bridge. I'll just leave this straight. And then each of these, so this line here is the treble string. This line here is the bass string. These other ones are like demarking the edge of the fretboard and some inward cut so that the strings aren't right on the edge of the fretboard. This line is about where I would like my saddle to end, right here, and this one here, this little notch. And then this line and this line here are where the scoop will happen, where I'll thin this area down. I'm not sure I'm going to keep it this long either. I think I'm going to make it skinnier. Back here, this is the line that's parallel to the saddle. Each of these are the hole pin notches, the pins for the string holes. So these are the string, what is that? The bridge peg holes. So I'm going to put those holes diagonal, parallel with the front of the, or parallel with the saddle. And so the only real thing I've got left now, as far as dimensions go, is how far out, how much of this to keep, how long this ultimately will be. And I've got a little over 1.5 inches. Got a little more than that there. I don't know why that wasn't as well centered as I thought it was. That center line is not as well centered. Doesn't matter. So we'll just cut off a little from either end. So I'm wondering about how wide I should make so this will be kind of like a traditional Martin bridge where it curves down and then it just goes flat to the end. But I'm not entirely certain how much to do, how long to make that. Because I'm also going to get skinnier here. This width here, this dimension of 1 5/8 is going to get shrunk down on these ends. So it's going to be there'll be a curve here. And so I have to decide just where that curve will be and what that's going to look like as well. But the big thing, so with it curved, this will get skinnier, which will make this distance look longer. So if I make, if we go an inch seems really short. 1 1/8 might be okay once it gets, shrunk down to a curve maybe. And then we would do, maybe, let's do like 1 1/4 of actual width out here, maybe, something like that. And so I'm just kind of deciding 1 1/4 by 1 1/4, make that square, maybe. That's a lot. That's actually kind of big. Let's go, maybe here. I may have to do a couple of different bridge designs. Remember, I'm reinventing the wheel here because I'm learning in my own mind what makes the bridge tick. So a lot of this is, some of you are probably annoyed already with how slowly or how much detail I'm getting into, but this is just me trying to figure out, as almost like a thought exercise or a thought experiment, to figure out what goes into deciding the features of the bridge. The big thing are the physical things required for making the bridge even function. And then there's the aesthetic. So I'm just kind of working out in my own mind what that's going to take. And I think I like the idea of 1 1/8 gets kind of thin out here. Maybe that's a bit thin. It would have to be a fairly quick curve to go, say 1 3/8. For the peak here, if we did 1 3/8 out here, right, and then we did say 1 1/8 to here, so that's to that point. If we just go diagonal, that's not going to work. We'll definitely want to do a swoop, obviously. So we might do like something, maybe we'll go a little bit more than 1 3/8. So some of this is really coming up with the look I want as well. So that'll come out to that point as well. Is that just plain longer? That's 1 7/8. That is just plain longer. Something's wrong. Something is off. That is 1 inch and that's about 1 1/8. This line is way longer. Something is way off here. Hold on a second. I've got to double check my Something seems wrong. Something seems like I got the center lines on this right, but I am shifted down. So I'm gonna take you back and see what the heck. I want to confirm something real fast. Something feels like something's shifted. I'm gonna double check. Okay, so I just gave myself a little doubt about my center line, so I want to double check things real fast. First, I'm gonna go, okay, make sure I'm parallel like I think I am, and that side is. We'll go over here, make sure we're, yeah, they're parallel like I think they are. So now I'm gonna do a real quick check of the center of this thing. Let's put a little mark. And a little mark. Yep, that's good. Okay, so that shows me I've got those two. This is how I'm recovering my center line because it's not really marked on the top of this anymore. So now that I've got that, I can set this on here with my breath held, hoping that I did not F up my center line too badly. No, it's not that bad. It is a tiny bit off. Oh, hang on. But not bad. I'm going to go to the other side so I can see this better. There. And there. And we're about, down here, we're about an 1/8 that way. So it's not perfect on that center line, which is part of what's going on here. But it's not a bad, it's not off that far. It's just off a tiny bit. Okay. So that's fine. I think it'll be all right. Well, you're going to go where you're going to move the bridge to wherever this is. The fretboard is now my point of truth for everything on this, so the bridge may slide that way just a teensy tiny bit. Yeah, so what am I doing next? We're still figuring out how much length to put on this. I think I'm going to do, I think I could do 1.5 inches here at the center, come down to 1 1/8 inches, maybe 1 1/4 inches. I think 1 1/8 inches it'd be fine. Yeah, I think 1 1/8 inches would be fine. We'll do 1 1/8 inches and we'll make this So we're not going to be perfectly symmetrical, which is interesting. We are, but it's 50-50. It won't be half and half so much. It'll just be from here. I think it's going to look better this way. So if we came out to 1 1/8 inches here, that comes to 2 and between 3/4 and 7/8, 15/16. No, 13/16. Okay, so if we go to that point here, that's only 1 inch on that side. Go 1 1/8 inches here. Yeah, I think I like 1 1/8 inches for the final length. Like that. And so then that means we'll cut it off right there. And right there. And call that my final bridge length, which is just a bit under 6 inches, 5 3/4. I think I can live with that. And then we'll take it down to 1.5 inches because I like where that is. And then I'll work out the scallop that we'll do once I've got it cut to length. So okay, I'm ready to take this back off the body. And we'll stick with that center line. It's okay. I think I'm going to leave the double stick tape available in case I need to reposition We're going to go cut this to final length and final width now. I'll go over to the miter saw. I'll just do that real quick. You don't need to see me do it. I'll be right back. Alright, so now I've got it cut to final length, and the width is about 1.5 inches, a little bit heavy there because I'm going to be curving the back and I'll sand on that, so I just want to make sure. This front edge is going to stay straight. That's my reference edge, that's where everything will be taken from. The next thing I want to do is lay out for the scalloping that's going to happen here, so this is going to get thinner. It's going to do it fairly quickly because this is not a very thick bridge. So I'm going to figure out how I'm going to do that in just a second here, because that's going to take a small cut. Yeah, so I think I'd like to get it down to about, let me go look up what that is. The final thickness, what I should do there for the final thickness. I think I can get pretty thin, but I don't want to get super thin. I'll be right back. Alright, so I looked it up. It's about 3 millimeters is the somewhat standard. It's not really that standard even. It's common. Martins are somewhere in that range. So what I'm going to first do is transfer the end lines where I want the scallop to start. I'm going to transfer those around so I know where to mark for the curve on it. And then we'll take that and bring it all the way across. Take it on this side and bring it all the way across. Okay, now I've got my square is now set to about 3 millimeters or something like that. I think I can handle a little thinner than that. And we're just going to go across like so and mark out, because this will be basically the rough dimensions. And then, come on now, there you go. I'm going to take those dimensions, then I can do whatever this radius is, will be my, it's about 190, 180, 188. Okay, got my hole gauge, and we're in the, somewhere in the 13/64 range-ish, a little lower than that, a little smaller than that. And I'm just going to line it up. Oh, we're actually bigger than that. Oh yeah, we're in diameters, right? So it's 190 radius, not diameter. So we're going to be looking for, are we really that high up? 180, yeah, 185. So that's close to about almost 400 thou. So there's a 406 and 13/32. How's that looking? So I'm just going to grab a portion of a circle here to mark, because I'm going to do this with the bandsaw anyways. It's going to be this is really just a rough cut or a rough outline of the curve I want to put in it. Yeah, that's fine. So we'll do the same with this one. And just hold it in place sort of carefully, if at all possible carefully. Okay, so that gives me the radius that I want to put there. I can make those cuts then, and I'll end up cutting this away if I do it this time. So then I have to work out this curve here, how I'm going to shape this. But I'm going to get these cuts first, and then I can come back and decide what to do next after that. This way I'm doing this little scallop thing before I cut the final shape, and I can use both faces to ride against the table. So we're going to head to the bandsaw real quick and try to make some really delicate cuts. Hold on one second.